Coming up on All About Android, we discuss Android Q. We've got Google's Stadia announcement that happened earlier today. Pixel 3a and 3a XL details leaking out. Hands-on with the Galaxy Watch Active that I have right here. And how many times can the Oppo F11 Pro pop out that camera? We have the answer coming up on All About Android.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This episode of All About Android is brought to you by Aftershocks. Unbelievably comfortable open-ear headphones. Hear music and crystal clear phone calls like never before. Visit aaa.aftershocks.com and use code AAA for $50 off the tech bundle. And by WordPress. Turn your dreams into reality and launch your website at WordPress.com. Get 15% off any new plan at WordPress.com/allaboutandroid. And by ZipRecruiter. Hiring is challenging, but there's one place you can go where hiring is simple and smart. That place is ZipRecruiter, where growing businesses connect to qualified candidates. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/Android. Hello and welcome to All About Android, episode 412, recorded on Tuesday, March 19th, 2019. Your weekly source for latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful. I'm Jason Howell.
And I'm Ron Richards.
And I'm Florence Ion.
And we are all three here once again. Ron, not sucked into Babyville, gets a reprieve. Well, I mean, probably still. I
gotta admit that they're with their mother, which is great. But I do want to thank my friends at the Twit office for preparing me for parenthood with the lovely book that I got in the mail.
You're welcome.
Pocket-sized dad jokes. So thank you.
Got to start you off right.
Yeah.
Thank you, whomever at Twit sent this to me. I appreciate it.
That would be me.
Thanks, Jason.
Happy dad. Happy dadhood. Every dad deserves a pocket-sized dad joke book.
My kids will appreciate it in 5 years when they can understand it. So.
Yes, totally. This gives you enough time to memorize your favorites. Joining us is a dad, Cameron Summerson, also from How To Geek. Not just a dad, but from howtogeek.com. How you doing, Cameron?
I'm doing well.
Do you have a pocket-sized dad joke book?
No, I've been doing this long enough that the dad jokes just come naturally now.
It's true. It is like a talent that just kind of
morphs into
your craft
DNA.
that just becomes.
It does. Yeah, you start off with the book, but then it just becomes part of who you are on a long enough timeline.
And that's perfectly fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you just have to, basically what you have to do, Ron, you have to carve out some study time. So every morning, wake up at 4:30, and the first hour of every day is studying the book, as dads call it, the book, which is the dad joke book. And you just, you work on it. And over time, you'll realize you will change. You will become a dad. And with all the humor that is inherent in that.
Yep.
Or lack thereof.
Good to know.
All right, good. We've done our part. This is like and I'm sorry that that's the only gift that I've sent you is a stupid.
No,
book.
I love it. I literally laughed out loud when I got it. I loved it. It was great. So thank you. I'm prepared now for fatherhood.
All right, good. And Cameron, it really is great to have you back on today. We really appreciate you hopping on Skype to be with us tonight. So
Absolutely, glad to be here.
Right on. And what an episode. Man, we've got so much to talk about this week. And we told you at the end of, or during last week, that we were expecting some news, and Google came through. It's time, Victor, for the news. Yeah.
And now, here's your pocket-sized guidebook for Android Q news.
That's right, Android Qs.
Pocket size.
Questions about Android Q. Q's about Android Q.
So the day finally came. Android Q is now officially ready to be installed.
When was that day?
Of course, it was the day after, right? It was the day after the episode. I mean, everything happens on Wednesday, the day after we publish our episode. That's just the way the world works.
Everything. No, today we had something happen today that we're going to get to later. So
that's
that was
true.
Nice.
Exactly.
But we definitely did get Googled last week.
Yes, we totally got preempted by Google. the actual company that creates the things we talk about. So maybe that's impossible to get preempted by them. Anyways, if you have a Pixel device, you can install Android Q on it right now. Though, do you want to? That, I think, is a question that remains. Cameron, I know that you've installed this, but it's not on your primary phone, right?
No, it's definitely not on my. I don't think it's daily driver ready yet. But it's weird because it's when you first install it, it doesn't look a whole lot different than Pi.
No.
But it's Pi but buggy.
Yeah, I've got it running on my daily driver. This is not something you're supposed to do, but I did it anyways because why not? And it, when you look at it, you're right. Like there's really no indication. If I pull down my notifications, then you see a little bit of an indication. I've got dark mode on apparently.
Ooh.
And I didn't switch this on, so I'm trying to think like did I make a switch that like translated over from Pi to Q or whatever? I'm not really quite sure.
Yeah, if you had it set to use the dark theme instead of the theme that matches your wallpaper, when you updated to Q, that now that basically that's stuck and there's no way to change it.
Oh.
Yeah, so not yet, not right now anyway. I'm sure that a switch is coming just like was in Pi, but yeah, that's why.
Well, that's okay because I like it anyways. Maybe that should be a bummer, but I think it's okay. I like the darkness. But there are ways. Well, there are a number of features, obviously, in Android Q, and we don't have this really built out outside of the fact that, Cameron, you wrote a very lengthy Android Weekly post on howtogeek.com where you broke out just tons and tons of links, an Android Q feature roundup from all sorts of different publications linking to the many different things. So I thought, that's a great foundation. And then I have a bunch of other links in here. I'm hoping everybody kind of had a chance to take a look a little bit. But were there any things that kind of jumped out at you? I mean, we could read through some of these and see what we're looking forward to. And I can let you know it's really hard to see. There's so much that you don't see when I just look at the phone that I've been using for a full day and night, like a full 24 hours on Android Q, and I would hardly know it at this point. It really just kind of seems like Pi.
Should we round robin it?
Sure. I'll just start. I have in the notes here. So apparently there are settings around something called feature flags, which is like this extra menu section. Let's see if I can get to it in settings. That adds, so I'm going to search for it. Feature.
By the way, I love this dark theme. Sorry, I just want to say I'm really happy for it coming.
Feature flags.
I gotta tell you, after using that Google News app so much with the reading the news while the babies are sleeping in the dark, I've become a real dark mode convert.
Yeah,
like big time.
That's why. Yeah,
absolutely. Yep. The more you use it, the harder it is to go back. And thankfully, it seems like Android Q is really going to put more emphasis on that. But feature flags has all these different kind of sliders in here, and I'm not sure if this is obviously a very early version of Android Q beta, so maybe they're going to clean this up. Right now, this is found, I believe, in developer settings, but it allows you to do things like do screen recording. You can switch it on so that you can do video recording without the need of an app. If I hold down my power button, boom, I have a screenshot there, but I thought that there was a video screen record long press.
Oh, long press. Okay.
Well, I thought that it would.
What if you long press on screenshot?
Oh, that might be it. You're right.
Oh my gosh, it's so much easier than everything else that you need to do for a screen recording.
It's not beautiful, but there it is, and that's kind of the point at this point. It's functional. It's there. Keep in mind, this is not meant for like just everyone. This is really meant to kind of seed out to developers, give people an early indication. So some people would very quickly see the changes in Android Q and be like, I don't like how they did this. That's horrible, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, well, maybe it is horrible. They might actually change that because they've got a bunch of revisions to do. But anyways, there's a bunch of different flags here that you can trigger. You can reorganize where the power button menu appears, reorganize network and internet settings in the settings pane, quick switch between audio devices. You can share your Wi-Fi password with a QR code. All that stuff is triggerable, or at least configurable in the feature flag setting. So that's kind of an interesting new section that seems to have a lot of customization in it.
Yeah.
Who wants to go next? Ron.
I love the Q logo.
Oh, I haven't even got to that yet.
It's such a good logo, like that little Q with the thing. I mean, at least looking at the blog post on it, and is there an Easter egg thing in the?
That's what I'm trying to figure out without showing literally everything about my life.
Well, as you look for that, aside from the Q logo, I love the fact that they called out in the blog post with the foldables and innovative new screens, which shows that Google is not ignoring the trend or the future of foldable phones. And if anything, gonna have Android be ready for it and gonna work with the manufacturers to support these innovative new screen sizes we haven't even thought of yet, which I'm excited about. So I'm glad to see that. That was one thing I was worried it wouldn't be in this, and we'd have a year of stratification of like modified versions of Android to support these weird screens.
Yeah, right. Well, and you knew they were gonna continue working on this because, man, there are a lot of those right around the corner. Apparently, that's the future. That's what they want us to think.
Wow.
The future's foldable.
The future is foldable. The F in future stands for foldable. Flo, what do you think?
I don't know what to say next. There's all these little things.
I know. There's all little. It is a lot of little things.
Let's talk about. Okay, I'm gonna pull one out of a hat.
Sure.
What about desktop mode?
So yeah, that's interesting. Desktop mode, which
yes.
You're like, cool, it's a launch pad for something. Which seems early stages. Like at this point, it seems like XDA has realized, or they posted about it, that yes, there is a desktop mode that exists in here, but we know absolutely nothing about it beyond that. Are you aware of anything more around that, Cameron, as far as like what, or do you have any guesses as far as what that might materialize with Android Q?
I don't really know, and I'm kind of confused why it exists. I guess it's just more of the overlap. I don't know why it exists because of Chrome OS. That's why I think that it's weird to put a desktop mode in Android, but I guess it's just more of the overlap between Chrome OS and Android. Right. I don't know why I would ever want to use a desktop mode in Android, though.
Have you ever used Samsung's DeX setup?
I have not.
Desktop mode?
Or
desktop, no, I haven't. I actually, when I ordered my S9, I ordered the DeX dock with it, but they sent me a case for the wrong phone, and they never ended up sending me the DeX.
No way.
It was a mess. Yeah, it was, and we just got tired of messing with it, so I didn't.
Well, it feels like remember those not netbooks, but the little net boxes that came out afterwards, and they were like they just felt like these very light versions of a full operating system. Like that's exactly what it feels like. And what I would imagine a desktop mode. I mean, I don't know. I guess if you have Chrome OS, but I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, that would be actually really cool if suddenly your Android phone could transform into a Chrome OS instance. But I don't think that's what this is. No. Like, it really seems like this is emulating
I don't know. There apparently a Chromecast can transform into a consoles.
A game system. That's right. Tease for the future. Stick around. We'll talk about that too. But that would be really great if it could suddenly transform into a Chrome OS device. My guess is that this is just like a desktop formatted version of Android, similar to what you are seeing in something like DeX, because Samsung is already doing it. So of course Google wants to show that it can do it. But there is a little bit of a strange kind of conundrum there between Google's actual desktop environment, which is Chrome OS, and making Android look better in a desktop mode. Like, I feel like that's a half step. Go full Chrome OS. That would be really useful. But
Jason, did you happen to see I was thinking of the next thing, which could be, can we take a look at that feedback program?
Oh, I didn't even look at that. So let's see here. Android.
I want to see what it looks like. What's enticing?
Okay, well, I'll show you the icon.
Oh, there's an icon.
So you can drool over the icon. There it is.
Ooh.
It's a messaging bubble with an exclamation point in it. And when launched, that's what you get. Android beta feedback.
Material design. Wow.
Is there a dark mode?
Yeah.
Oh. Is there a dark mode? Let's go to settings. No.
Oh, come on, dog food it. Come on, guys.
What about dark mode? All the things, huh? But apparently, I can report an issue, and it'll allow
There
me
is
to
no
add an
dark
attachment. Yes, there is no dark mode in this app. That's my issue. Okay. So it kind of walks you through how do you trigger this error that occurred or whatever, and I wonder if it surfaces this when something crashes or something like that. It'd be like, oh, that's a great time to launch this app
on an Apple computer.
Yeah, right. Pull up the thing so it makes it much easier for you to report it. Who knows? So there you go. There's an app that if you're getting the beta, you're going to have on your phone that you can possibly use. Cameron, what stood out for you? Or is there anything? I mean, there's plenty of things here. We'll talk about more, but what do you want to make sure we talk about?
The new share menu.
Oh, right.
Yeah, good one.
That has needed to be revamped for so long. It has been so bad and so slow. And I'm so glad that they're finally addressing that. And it's going to be, it's fast. And it's actually useful.
Not only the share menu, but the whole share API, right? I mean, that's a whole from the ground up. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's always been slow, right? So I'm going to share from Twitter, share via... Boop. Okay.
And
so that's not too bad.
Okay.
And then if I do it again, I bet it comes up faster. Yeah. But in Pi, like you could never quite get used to what happened with share. You'd hit it, these options would come up, and sometimes you'd be like, yeah, that's the thing I want to share to, and you'd hit it and it wouldn't register because it was populating all of your share points up here, and then it would pull that up and things would like resize and everything. And sure, it all happened in the span of like 3 seconds, but that was 3 long seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
And especially like when you see the thing and you're tapping it and it's just not working because it's still working on the information up here. I'm not getting any of that like dynamic information here though.
I was gonna say, what about the sharing shortcuts to people? Like, where is that? Is that in a different app? Go into Google Maps or something, or go into a Google app instead of.
Let's see here.
Yeah, because the screenshot they had was something different, like find a location.
Okay. Right. GC Micro Corporation. Share. Cool. There we go. Okay. Well, there's a bunch of information that you probably.
Oh yeah.
But anyways, that's what we have the edit for.
So I mean, the idea, the going from their blog post, it's it says when a user wants to share content like a photo with someone in another app, the process should be fast, right? And it's going specifically to target your connection, maybe in photos or something like that to show that to their exact example. But But yeah.
Okay. Well, I think over time we'll see if there's actual speed improvements. I mean, right there, it seems like things have improved more. What I wish that Share would do, and it never does, like I would say 90% of my sharing goes to Pocket. I'm always sharing to Pocket because that's where I collect my links. And it's never been good at going, wow, 90% of the time you share to Pocket. Maybe that should always be the very first dang thing that ever appears there, period. That's what I want. But same
thing with me. I mean, 90% of mine is copy to clipboard. Because I'm seeing something that I want to post into WhatsApp, or I want to share to Slack or something like that. But I hate if I use the app integrated version, I get all like, I don't want to share, like when I share a tweet, I just want to share a link to the tweet. I don't want to share the
look what I read on Twitter link.
Yeah, exactly. I hate that. So I just do copy to clipboard and then I delete all that crap and just do the link. So look at that.
Yeah, copy to clipboard did in the previous versions exist in this whole share menu, but that would just kind of move around all the time. Yeah. Now you've got it here, and I don't know if it's supposed to be in both places or maybe eventually they get rid of it in the big menu, but it's always up there, so you can tap that and boom, it's copied. So it will always be at the top, which is probably where it deserves to be, where it needs to be. So yeah, the sharing context stuff, that's a biggie. Let me think here. Lots of different changes. They made changes to the always on display.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping
are there options for that available?
There are. You can see, the battery moved up there, up to the top.
We should probably apologize to some of the audio listeners, by the way. This is a pretty visual episode.
Right. Watch the video if you're like, what are they talking about up there and down there? Because, It's hard to explain some of these changes. We'll do our best.
Yeah,
on the ambient display, if you're listening to something on Spotify or YouTube Music, because Google Play Music is going away, it'll show that information here. In the middle, underneath like the clock. Down at the bottom, you'll see kind of like your calendar events and like 17 minutes until. And I feel like part of me feels like that was there before, but
that was on the home screen.
Okay, but it wasn't in the lock screen.
Yeah.
And now it's in the lock screen. That's super useful. I like that a lot.
It's useful for you because you have meetings.
Well, yeah, I suppose so. Or I have places that I need to go in 20 minutes, and it's really useful for me to look at my lock screen and go, "Holy crap! I needed to leave 3 minutes ago." You know.
Yeah, that's true. So. I'm just trying to think about. I just think about how disruptive those things are, and I think for me that's why I have a little trepidation because I'm like.
They can be disruptive, but for me, like I put so much stuff in the calendar, like. I want to be disrupted around that because if I put it in the calendar, that's like my signal to myself that I've made it a priority to get there on time.
Right.
So disrupt me. Make sure I get there because I'm so bad at arriving on time. That's my problem. That's not Android Q's problem. But thank you for trying to fix me, Android Q. Ron?
Yes. I gotta admit I'm very curious about the art performance improvements.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like if they're calling out the work, and so for those who don't know, the art runtime is the runtime kernel or whatever, you know, the core aspect of the operating system that basically gets apps starting, and they're saying, you know, it's going to help them start faster and consume less memory. And I feel like they mention art almost every other, you know, kind of OS version.
Yeah.
And so if it's worth enough of a mention here to call it out in this announcement, that those speed impacts got to be pretty good, or it's got to at least, you know, directly impact our use of the apps. Because we, as you said, Jason, earlier with the sharing thing, we want stuff faster. We want stuff more, you know, we don't want to wait for it. And art is the way that can happen. So hopefully they are making it more efficient with art.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like that I like in the blog post they talk about the garbage collection, which is a thing in if you're in development, the idea there's a lot of excess data or whatever that's out there, and it's got to process it and spit it out. And I love that they say it's, you know, the garbage collection overall more efficient in terms of time and CPU, reducing jank.
Yeah, reduce that jank. Jank is a word.
It is.
Let's see here. Flo. Any others jump out at you?
I like this on the spot.
I know there's a lot of little things. I know that there was a lot of commotion over the bell appearing to the latest notification to kind of let you know what recently came through the notification shade. So you're not just looking through notifications trying to find the latest one, because that's not very time efficient. I knew that. Oh, did we go over roles?
No. So roles, if you remember, Michal from XDA had written about these weeks ago. And when he was on, he was talking about this. This was the thing that he was considering writing a blog post on. And basically the idea around this is that there are certain categories of apps that you would assign to be a default app for a particular thing, be it browser, be it dialer, that sort of thing. And so the roles, from what I understand, would be a set or a group of permissions specific to that default app category, that if you choose this app to be your default dialer and you have these two other dialer apps installed on your phone, the default dialer that you select is like elevated permissions. It has access to those permissions, whereas the other ones don't, if I'm understanding it correctly. So it's a way of saying, if you as a user trust this particular app with the fill this role, then you trust it to do these things. The other apps, you don't trust them, therefore they don't get that access. Does that make sense?
It's a very exclusive club for apps, basically.
But determined by the user. And that actually makes a lot of sense to me, right? Like, as a user, you're making that decision, and then everything isn't running in the background also collecting this information or whatever. I could be misunderstanding it, but that's kind of my interpretation of what I read about that. So
is there a user facing sort of way to get to the setting in Android? in the Android Q beta.
Let me see. I'm not sure if I'll be able to find it. Default, I feel like would be the setting. Default apps. So default apps. Yeah. So if you show this, I believe this is basically where you would choose your default apps for all sorts of things, right? Roles, Chrome, and Messages.
Oh, there we go.
And yeah,
so
again,
Roles is at the very bottom of the default app settings screen, and so you would tap on that. It would take you to another list you get to choose your music app, and it gives you the choices based on what you have installed. It looks like
Home app, Pixel Launcher.
So it's literally just a much more explicit way to set your default apps. I feel.
Yeah, I'm curious to find out more information though about like what that role actually affords an app that you select versus the other ones, and that's where I might be guessing a little bit based on what I've read, but that's my understanding, because a large part of Q seems to be about your privacy and security. You know, securing your phone down so that it isn't doing things when you don't want it to, allowing you to select location sharing on a per use basis instead of letting that app just constantly have access in the background, or a number of other things. What is it? No more launching an activity from the background. Specifically, so you're using an app and then suddenly a background app suddenly comes to the foreground, launched itself because it was running in the background. No more of that. Limits on the app's access to the MAC and IMEI addresses, also randomizing the MAC address when you connect to a new Wi-Fi network. They're doing all these things that before just kind of stayed static, or maybe the permissions for a number of apps were just kind of allowed to be picked through willy-nilly by whatever apps were installed. Now they're saying, no, these groups of apps you've given priority to, they have access. These other ones, less so. That's my guess.
I mean, all of this, like reading through the blog post and reading through the analysis and the exhaustive links that Cam put together.
Bless you, Cam.
Yeah, props. It just, to me, it just shows again, like this honestly feels like another maturation of the operating system, like looking at the all the stuff around privacy, all the stuff around data, looking at the settings panels and things like that. It's getting to be really slick and like becoming a nice operating system. At least that's how it seems, as someone who hasn't actually used it yet. But.
Now I will ask you, Cameron, your opinion on this. There are some people who continue to say that, man, what with some of the changes that are happening in Android Q, it's making Android less Android. And actually, now that I say it out loud, I feel like this is an argument that I feel like we've heard the last like 3 or 4 years. It's like, oh no, Android's getting less Android. It's getting more locked down. There's these pathways that are being set for the user instead of the user choosing their pathway. Do you agree with that assessment? Do you like these changes? Do you think it's necessary? What do you think?
I do like these changes. And it's funny because as we were talking about this, all I'm thinking is they're taking the best features from iOS and bringing them to Android, like the granular permissions, or only allowing an app to access location when it's in the foreground. That's one of my favorite features in iOS. And I love that kind of stuff is coming to Android. So yeah, I see what people are saying, but I also don't necessarily agree that it's a bad thing. I definitely don't think it's a bad thing. I like this new direction. I don't even know if it's a new direction, but I think it's something that Google's been slowly inching towards. But this is a big release for privacy and security, and I think now that's more important than ever. So yeah, I'm a big fan of these changes.
Yeah, at this moment in time, it really is super important. Have we missed anything? I mean, there's a number of more things in here, and obviously we can't talk about every single thing. But Cameron, I'm curious to know if there's anything else in here that you wanted to make sure to mention on this.
The other thing is actually something else that was taken from iOS, and that's better gesture navigation. Mm-hmm. It was found in Pixel Launcher, because honestly, the gesture navigation on every Android phone I've ever used is terrible. It's just terrible. But the gesture navigation on like iPhone 10, 10s, 10R is incredible. It's so intuitive. and it's the best gesture navigation system. So the fact that was found, something very similar was found in Pixel Launcher, that's pretty exciting to me because I really, really like that navigation system.
So yeah, so they've found that. I'm like scrambling on my Android Q to like try to find some way to activate it, but I'm not able to. Oh wait, so it's a developer options, and then home settings. Is that what it would be? Let's see here. Sorry, I didn't get a chance to dive into this or to find it beforehand here. And you can take the shot if you want. If people really want to see me scrolling through a menu. Okay, where are the home
Jason
options?
is currently scrolling through a dark themed menu with slightly cerulean accent colors in the material form. He's now searching for home settings.
Not coming up with any results. All right. Apparently I'm not going to be able to get to that right now. But I do agree, absolutely, Cameron, that in my time with the iPhone, the gesture navigation on the iPhone has always felt a little bit more fine-tuned, a little bit more fresh and kind of intuitive in some ways than this, than is on the Pixel Launcher, where you've got the pill for the gestures, but then you've also got the back button that appears, and it's like just integrate it all into the pill. I've always wanted that to happen, so I really hope that's the direction that they're going.
You just
towards.
want it all in the pill, huh? You just sort of want a pill to solve everything, huh, Jason?
I'm a magic pill.
Yes,
a magic Android pill.
I just want to take the pill and have it do everything. Is that so wrong? Is that asking too much? Cool. So then I guess we'll find out more about that as we go along. Obviously, I'm having a really hard time finding it. Oh, also swiping notifications. If you swipe right, it dismisses. Left, it snoozes.
Like Tinder.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Was it left or right would dismiss in Pi?
I think swipe right means you like them. I don't know. I've never used it.
I like this notification. I don't like this notification.
Yeah, in Pi, it's like if you swipe just a little bit, you get the snooze menu. Yeah. And the snooze and settings menu. If you do it too quickly, though, it just dismisses. So I like that they've changed it, so it makes more sense.
Yeah.
I know I saw Ron Amadio complaining on Twitter. He said that they made it so you have to swipe in the wrong direction to dismiss the notification. But I always swipe right to dismiss my notifications.
Yeah, so did I.
I'm a fan. Yeah. He swipes to the left, so he's wrong. That's just it's just wrong.
Google has decided Ron Amadio is wrong on this one thing. All right. Well, there's a lot more, and I'm sure we could spend a lot more time on this. But I would say check out Cameron's article at howtogeek.com. Yes. I'm sure there are more links appearing. Do you have another one of these that you're building up to post another time? Like, hey, here's a bunch more stuff.
Every week.
Every single week. Android Weekly is the...
He does it so you don't have to.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I try to collect all the cool stuff that I find around Android for the entire week. And this week, it just happened to be so much Android Q stuff.
Yeah. Crazy amounts. 6 total Android Q betas are expected. March, of course, just happened. April, May, June. And then in Q3, there's going to be 2 betas, which, they kind of keep it loosely scheduled with a final release by the end of Q3.
Wow.
So
wow, they're just really passing them out there, aren't they?
They're just handing them out like pills. Handing them out like pills.
Magic Android
with a slight vacation in the summer.
And, of course, we've got Google I/O coming up, so we're certainly going to hear a lot more. And like I said earlier, keep in mind, this is Android Q, the very, very, very first early version of it. So there are undoubtedly big features that we know nothing about yet. They are not a part of this. They've got to keep some surprises for I/O. They've got to keep some reasons for people to get super excited about it. And there are a lot of interesting things here. But I feel like right now a lot of the view from people who are kind of looking at it and reading about it and everything is, that's it? Wait a minute, because people expect the big whiz-bang thing, whatever it may be. And I don't think this early you get that.
This is the beginning. Yeah. Before we move on, Cameron, what is your name for the operating system?
Oh, right.
What Q dessert do you think it's going to be?
I have no idea. I honestly don't know any desserts that begin with Q unless you want to go with like quiche. But to me, quiche is not necessarily or ever a dessert. I guess it could be, but I don't know. I have no idea what it could be.
Yeah, this one's really puzzling. Keep going back to Quick. Quick keeps happening for me.
Quiche has been said several times.
It
There
has
was even
been.
a joke between Hiroshi and Evie Leaks on Twitter about quiche.
They were
you
going
can't
back
take
and
that,
forth
though.
on quiche.
But that's a diversion.
Yeah.
You know that's a diversion.
Oh yeah, no, it's always a diversion.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
well, you
means
never
it's out.
know.
yeah.
I can't expect. Yeah, so that one's off the table for me now because if they're joking about it, then it's not going to happen.
Yeah, quiche is a pivot. Quiche would be a pivot if they went that direction. Then suddenly it would be breakfast items and it would be all confusing. Maybe they could then. No, pancake is pea. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
It's going to be something Brazilian or it's going to be some foreign, because I've scoured the Q desserts and I do not see an obvious choice. So
No.
I'm excited to find out what it will be in the summer whenever they do it. It's going to be the summer, right? It's like IO.
Yeah.
Yes. Maybe not even IO. It could be a little bit later than IO, but yeah, definitely. Google's sweating bullets on this one. Let's take a break and thank the sponsor of this episode, and then we'll get into a whole bunch of hardware. We have so much hardware, we've got 2 full blocks of it. So we'll talk about that next. But first, this episode of All About Android is brought to you by Aftershocks. These are some awesome headphones. Aftershocks uses a patented bone conduction technology. Headphones don't actually go into your ear like earbuds that you've worn before. Maybe they hurt, maybe they're constantly slipping out. Well, Aftershocks do not do that. Aftershocks headphones feature unbelievable comfort because they rest gently outside of your ear. That's right, outside. They don't go in your ear canal at all. They produce the sound by sending mini vibrations through your cheekbones to your inner ear. All of that bypasses your eardrum. That's what bone conduction is all about. The titanium wraparound headband is super lightweight, so it's not going to weigh you down. It's flexible and durable and portable. So it kind of checks all the boxes, fits right around your head in a very comfortable way. You get crystal clear phone calls, crystal clear music like you've never heard before with Aftershocks. And premium pitch actually guarantees a premium audio experience with wide dynamic range. You also get rich bass. If you want to plug into the music and block the world, like that's really one of the key features about Aftershocks is because it's not going into your ear, it's not blocking you from the world that surrounds you. So it's really good for riding your bike or jogging, that sort of stuff. But if you want to, they actually also supply a pair of earplugs. And that's good for like the airplane. You get on an airplane, you want to block out that noise, throw in the earplugs, put on Aftershocks, and suddenly it enhances the sound of the bass. Everything sounds richer because you blocked out all of that extraneous noise. It's really kind of like magic. And actually, Cameron, you were mentioning before the show, you are a fan and a user, an owner of Aftershocks, right? Do you use this like for working out, for fitness stuff? What do you use it for?
I do. I'm a cyclist, and obviously, I like earbuds in the ear when you're on the road is a terrible idea. So, I mean, they're just safety concerns with that. So absolutely. I got the Trex Air to use on the bike, and such a game changer for me. Like I'm such a huge fan of them. I honestly didn't have high expectations when I tried them out, and the first ride with them, I was blown away. They sound great. And it's amazing because you can have a conversation while music is playing. You can have a conversation with somebody, and it's almost like the music just kind of disappears into the background. And then as soon as you're done talking, it's back.
Yeah,
it's super interesting. If there's anything else that catches your attention, it takes precedence over the music or whatever else is playing. So they're super safe on the bike. And like I said, I was super impressed with how good they sound too. I didn't think they would sound that great, but I was really impressed with how good they sound for what they are.
Yeah, right on.
Huge.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Like when you're going out running, when you're riding your bike, like Cameron was saying, it's totally unsafe to block yourself from the outside world. You never know, when a car might be swerving and you need to hear that audio cue. And that's what something like the Aftershocks is perfect for, because you have full access, your ears have full access to the world that surrounds you. You also happen to have a layer of music over the top of it, or a layer of a podcast over the top of it. Really, really safe and It's just kind of one of those things you have to try in order to understand, in order to believe. IP55 certified, so they're going to repel sweat, dust, and moisture if and when you do wear them for workouts or maybe in bad weather. You get 6 hours of continuous music and calls on a single charge, 10-day standby time. They only take an hour and a half to charge up, and you get a hassle-free 2-year warranty. Order an Aftershocks tech bundle now. That's going to include Trex Air, a pop socket, large portable storage case, portable power bank, and travel tumbler insulator. You get a whole lot there in the tech bundle. Visit aaa.aftershocks.com. Make sure and use code AAA at checkout, and you'll get $50 off. That offer is only valid in the U.S. That's aaa.aftershocks.com, and use code AAA. And we thank Aftershocks for their support of All About Android. And now it is time for Hardware, Part 1. So much hardware to speak of. This morning, I was here, I wouldn't say bright and early. 10 a.m. our time is not that early. I was up 5 hours before, so
don't sell yourself short.
It was like midday. But I was here with Leo, and we were covering the Game Developer Conference. Specifically, Google had an event, and that's just not a conference that Google normally has a big presence in. But we had some ideas as far as what it was going to be, and it turns out that it was exactly what we expected, but then a whole lot more. So if you remember months ago, we talked about Project Stream, which was basically a limited kind of beta rollout for people to stream Assassin's Creed to their Chrome browser and play it over the internet, essentially. Live streamed video, 1080p, 60 frames per second, streaming with a controller, and all they needed was a Chrome browser, and apparently it was a really big success. Well, that is now transformed into something called Stadia, which is what Google announced today, which is essentially a full platform and game streaming service. It also ties into YouTube. So the play here, no pun intended, is way bigger than just streaming a game to the screen. It's any screen, so Chrome, Android to TVs. They have a partnership with AMD on custom GPUs featuring 10.7 teraflops power. That compares to Xbox One X 6.0 teraflops, and PS4 Pro had 4.2 teraflops. So this is like a much larger scale. They've got a partnership with Unreal to develop for their to support games to be developed on their platform. YouTube videos of games. So when somebody's watching like a live streaming game on YouTube, there can be a button to like join in. So
that's crazy. That's the one that got me.
Totally bonkers, right? Like you're watching this live streamer and you're like, oh, I want to play. So you hit the button and you get in the queue to play with them on their live stream. This all happens in the cloud. This is really just a huge example of Google's power in the cloud. That's called crowd play. There's also state share. You're watching a streamer on YouTube playing a particular level and you want to play it. You can share that state, jump right into the game. It takes 5 seconds to launch from hitting the button. No hardware needed. It's literally just streaming video through to whatever screen you happen to be on. As long as you have a controller connected, you're good to go.
And a decent internet connection.
That's something that they really didn't touch on very much. You didn't hear them talk at all about the crappy state of internet, at least here in the U.S. Worldwide, in many markets, people have it a whole lot better than we do here. So that remains to be seen as far as how solid that's going to be. You can, instantaneous device switching, so seamlessly hand off from one device to another. Like I said, play now with a 5-second transition into the game that they say. Support up to 4K, 60 frames per second, HDR, surround sound at launch. They have plans to boost that up to 8K. And a big emphasis on multiplayer and a lot of the struggles that game consoles and developers have had around developing good multiplayer experiences. All this stuff is happening in the cloud. So Google's managing the power that's required and scaling the power to make sure that the game looks and plays as solid as possible. And so those multiplayer experiences basically it's just beaming that video back down to all the players. So like LAN parties in your home, suddenly that gets really interesting. LAN parties is an air quote because you're not actually having a LAN party, but a bunch of people with their own screens in your home playing against each other.
Some of us come from the generation of LAN parties, okay?
Yeah, totally.
Oh,
Good.
man, I had the best LAN parties.
Well,
my Warcraft 3 LAN parties are amazing.
Well, then that's for you. They also have their own controller, which actually has Wi-Fi in the controller, which sounds strange at first, but actually makes a lot of sense. Instead of routing the controller into, say, the Chromecast and then into the cloud, that Wi-Fi taps directly into Stadia's servers, so you get even less latency because there's less points for it to travel through. And they're creating their own exclusive titles with Stadia Games and Entertainment. Led by Jade Raymond, who's a superstar from EA and Ubisoft. Yep. Big announcement, I would say. Although we don't know price. We don't know exactly when. We know 2019. We don't know titles. So there's still a lot we don't know. But, Cameron, are you a big gamer?
I'm a console gamer.
Okay.
In my spare time, I wouldn't say I'm a big gamer. But, I have a PS4 Pro, and that's I've been a PlayStation guy for, I don't know, since the PS1. So that's, but I'm super interested in Stadia. But like they said a whole lot, but they also left out a whole lot. Like I want to know titles. I want to know pricing. Yeah. I want to know, is this going to be like an all you can eat sort of streaming? Like you pay a flat rate every month and you get to stream
like
all these games. Is it? Yeah. Or is it going to be like a la carte where you buy the games and you can stream them whenever you want? There's so much more that I want to know, and I'm excited to see what they do because it looked absolutely incredible. Mind blowing stuff.
If the catalog was good, what is a monthly and it was priced like Netflix, like subscription price, all you can stream. What is a price that you think is palatable for the people that they're targeting here? Is that $10? Is that $15 a month? $20 a month? What do you guys think?
It depends on the gamer.
Yeah, like if this is a new gamer, like Leo was saying earlier, this is less about convincing people who are already intertwined in Twitch and already have their console of choice and whatever. This is more about new up-and-coming gamers, because if you establish them early on the idea of cloud gaming, then they would find ownership of games to be as silly as a lot of people now find ownership of movies, because why would I do that when everything's online or music, everything's part of the service.
And I don't know if I was gonna say, I don't know if I agree with it, but I don't know if I disagree with it. I think it's absolutely right about the next generation and bringing them up on this whole thing. But I also think that the YouTube integration and stuff like that is a direct shot across the bow to Twitch.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
100%.
And the thing that really got me about this, like, first off, I heard Google Stadia, and I was like, what is that, a sugar substitute, right? and then we got into it, and then I saw what they were doing and the kind of expansion of it. I was like, oh wow, this is really interesting. And I saw the YouTube aspect of it, and my first thought was, okay, it seems like they're committing to this. Right, they're building such an integration with YouTube, which is such a huge important product. They built out this studio for exclusive games. They're doing all this stuff, so it seems like they're not going to Google this, which is basically roll this out and then send it to the graveyard in 2021.
Seems like, but you can't help but feel that sting every time they release a new product.
Exactly.
Every time.
Exactly. Every time.
That was my first thought. Was okay. So this is going to be great as long as they support it and don't do what they do with 95% of the other products.
That's what it feels like.
Or their hardware team.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which they just reshuffled.
Yeah.
I wonder if some of those people got reshuffled to the games division.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's true. That's true.
I'm thinking about that because this is going to require a lot of manpower. I definitely agree with Ron. This is a huge play at the streaming market, and just like get in there, because let's also not forget that Microsoft has its own streaming service, Mixer.
Well, everybody does. Verizon does.
Exactly.
Like I feel like the streaming, like it's funny because they're saying the future of gaming is without a box and it's unplugged. It absolutely is. Like, this is the turning point where all of gaming is moving to streaming, because now supposedly internet connections can handle it. And hey, I'm on Fios.
Supposedly.
I've got a gigabit connection. Like, I don't know if we're totally there yet with enough people, but it's going in that direction. And the thing is, who's going to win? It's whoever can mobilize enough people to their platform. Would I rather play on Google's platform, on Verizon's platform, or on Microsoft's platform? And whoever can add in the stuff that gamers want. And honestly, in that gamer thing, it's what's going on Twitch. Everybody wants to watch people playing games, and the idea that you can play with your favorite YouTube streamer, that's insane. If they add
jump in.
Exactly, if they add in Patreon-like support for those YouTubers, game over Twitch. Like, it's just going to go, like YouTube could really tip the scales in the whole gamer kind of gamerverse. But that's if they commit to this and if they stick to it.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be just about gamers either, because streaming is becoming so much more than just gamers. I mean, this announcement was done at GDC, sure, and really revolved around games, and streaming is definitely like, it's very tethered to games and the game platform, but there's so many other uses for it. And I just feel like the more these platforms grow, the more we'll see that. And so of course it makes 100% sense that Google will jump in on this and say, hey, let's not forget we have YouTube, and also we've been working on it to make it a better streaming experience for you.
How compelling is it when you just happen to be on YouTube and you're watching gameplay footage, and suddenly a button appears that says play now, and you hit it, and 5 seconds later you're playing that dang game? That is crazy.
You know what? They added that button for super chat so you could give people money, and that also makes it very easy to just be like, here, have some money.
Sure. Yeah, it lowers the barrier so far that it's just super easy to make that split decision, like, okay, fine, here you go.
Well, but I'm so used to it now, because that's how I'm taking in content online, and I'm paying for it in bits and pieces. And like, I'm part of this economy because I am making money off of things the way that these people are, just for like different things. And so I just find all these little features that are being added, like, they will add up to a bigger picture that just makes it like a platform. We're just going to see so much of this. It's the sorry to sound like an old person, quote unquote, but it's the next generation is like really calling for this. So all of this is just completely organic. It makes sense, and I'm probably going to try and use it when it comes out.
Heck yeah, I'll definitely use it when it comes out. I don't know if I'll stick with. I mean, it really, again, it comes down to selection of titles. I'm curious to see what kind of exclusives they come up with. That'll be really interesting. And it really comes down to price, right? Like, if it's like $30 a month, that would be a really hard sell for me.
And the titles is going to be
$30 a month, I think, is too much. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I keep stepping on you. No, 30 a month, I think, is just too much. And I was talking to some people on Twitter about this earlier, and one person actually said, if it's $30 a month, yeah, I'm in. And I'm like, that's just, for me, I think 15 is the limit. A few people said if it's more than $10 a month, it's dead. It's dead at launch. So,
now, in thinking about price, I think this is where Google can apply their volume business approach. And if they price this thing at $7.99 or $8.99 and make it a no-brainer and get millions of gamers, then it works, right? And then a year or two later, then they jack up the price, or then they add in more features if you pay at a more premium rate, or so. I think they're going to price it lower rather than higher. And Jason, to your point, the game selection, the game library, it's got to be like, I'm all for new games, it's all for cool stuff, but it's got to be stuff people want. You got to see, you got to see God of War, you got to see, Spider-Man is a PS4 exclusive, but you got to see the game, these Red Dead Redemption, these games that everybody loves, that you can get without having to have my whole thing is like, I haven't truly been like a gamer because I don't want to lay out the money for a console, because I knew that they were a dying industry, right? And now I don't need the console. I have a great connection. I have Chromecast. I have a 32-inch TV. Let me get this controller, and it's game on.
Yeah, game on.
Yeah,
I find it. I don't know that we'll ever see like PlayStation or Xbox exclusive titles on this. I think, if they were to make a deal like that, it would completely kill the edge that Sony and Microsoft have for their respective consoles. So I don't know that that'll ever happen.
I think Sony and Microsoft would fiund a way to sue before any of that happened. They'd be like, excuse me, this is our territory.
Well, but keep in mind, you've got Blizzard doing layoffs. You have all the you've got all these the game developers industry is not a safe industry right now. And what's the biggest thing that motivates anybody, like any industry, is money. So if Google comes along with enough money to a studio, they'll put their game on this platform.
Yep.
Now that's the thing right there is if they can find a way to basically not necessarily buy the game development company, but pay them enough to bring their title to Stadia instead of Sony or Microsoft, then sure. But
what you're saying is they should buy Bethesda, and then all of Skyrim should only be released on this. I totally agree with you. I agree. That's what they should do.
Yep.
I mean, a lot of PlayStation exclusive titles are owned by, like, Sony owns the company that makes them. So that's, I mean, they're not going to be able to even coax them away from Sony.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how that's going to work. To me, I want to keep my PlayStation. I'm super excited for the PlayStation 5. So I will buy a PlayStation 5 when it comes out. I want that for just my PlayStation exclusive titles, because literally that's the reason I'm a PlayStation gamer, is because of the exclusive titles. And then I want Stadia for literally everything else.
Yep.
Given Stadia lives up to its promise.
Right.
And makes your coffee taste that much sweeter.
Oh, coffee.
I would just like for Stadia to be something for a gamer like me. I mean, I have a Nintendo Switch. I love it. And I used to love PC games, but I'm just not a PC gamer anymore because that's a lot of it's money and upkeep that I don't really have time for in my life.
Yeah.
Right now, but I wish I could join in on some of those games once in a while, and it'd be nice to be able to tap into some service that just lets me like jump in, and that I would be happy just to have PC titles that I can access with a controller. That would make me.
Yeah, and I mean, what they're talking about here, it's an actual platform. So these are the games that are potentially being developed in conjunction with all these other consoles, also for Stadia. And another compelling thing that we didn't mention, because of their cloud server clout, 1,000-person battle royale instead of just 100.
I don't know how I feel about it.
Like, but that's just an example of the scale that you're talking about.
I didn't even know what was going on in a 1,000-person battle royale.
Absolutely not, but that's nuts. That's bonkers.
Madness.
And we haven't even mentioned the F word in all of this, which is Fortnite.
Yes.
Right. And so like
I was like, fragmentation?
No, but you take a game that has mobilized the world like Fortnite, and even not being specifically Fortnite. I mean, imagine if they take Fortnite and make a deal with them and put them on this platform with all those teraflops, and you have that insanity going on. Or if they're able to replicate it or tap into the passion of a game like Fortnite again on this platform at this scale. I mean, this could be really, really big if they commit to it. Again,
they commit to it. Commit to it, Google. Don't see the shiny object and run the other way in 3 years, okay?
Does Google have a commitment problem?
Yes, totally. Google is love avoidant.
Here's my prediction. This will exist for a year and a half, and then they're going to roll out YouTube games. And they're going to try to migrate Stadia to YouTube games.
Oh, man. Dude, I was seriously going to say almost the exact same thing. You totally beat me to it. This is how predictable Google is. Seriously, it's ridiculous. I hope they don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. We want to believe. I want so darn bad to believe Google.
We'll still have Sony and Nintendo when Google.
Yeah.
Dumps us. I don't know. Maybe they won't. Maybe they won't.
Maybe they'll finally commit to us. They'll get down. Google will get down on one knee.
How many years have we been doing this? How many years have we been covering this stuff?
Man.
What makes you think it's ever going to change?
All right. Fair point, Ron. We have been doing this very conversation for a very long time.
I'm hopeful, man. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, I want it.
We all have. We all want to be hopeful. We all do.
Yes, indeed.
I want to believe.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's move on from games to other hopeful devices.
Well, let's move on to devices that probably actually exist. At this point in time. So we've been hearing a lot about these mid-range Pixels that are supposed to be coming out this year and floating around. Well, guess what? Friends at 9 to 5 Google, they've got some deets. They've got some deets for you on the quote-unquote Pixel 3a. So just let that sink in for a minute.
Oh, that's a sexy name.
Asks you, hey, what's that phone you got? And you go, hey, GF, girlfriend, this is the Pixel 3a. Apparently it's got a 5.6-inch OLED screen with a resolution, with a very high resolution, let's just put it that way, 440 DPI, Snapdragon 670, so it's a mid-range processor inside, 4 gigs of RAM, so it's the same as your standard old Pixel, 8 megapixel front-facing camera, 12 megapixel rear-facing camera, a 3,000 milliamp battery. But then there's also the Pixel 3a XL, which just has a lot of syllables, a lot of syllables going on in there. So 6-inch display, much bigger. It comes in a clearly white color, just black color, and a third color option, which I'm assuming is just floating around out there. Likely to launch this spring on Verizon, which, as we know, was a big Pixel supporter from the beginning. And I'm assuming because it's the biggest carrier in the US, of course, Google is going to continue to align themselves with Big Red. If you are curious and to just hear a little bit more about this mid-range Pixel, this phone that is supposed to appear out of the ether in this spring season, you can actually go follow friend of the show Stephen Hall from at 9 to 5 Google. So apparently, according to a tweet, he's got some access to a Pixel 3a. So there's a Twitter thread out there. You can go delve in and see if there's anything in there that just sparks your fancy.
Yes.
I don't know. Mid-range Pixel.
Spark joy.
I'm all for a mid-range Pixel. If getting a mid-range Pixel means we have to call it the 3A, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
3A.
Oh, you like the 3A?
No, I like the idea of a mid-range Pixel.
Why?
Call it whatever you will.
So to me, they like Google releases a Pixel and then they blow out the price in 6 to 7 months and they're selling it at the same price that you would get a mid-range Pixel for. I don't understand why they feel the need to release this, but I will say from now on, I'm calling the 3A XL the Pixel 3 Axle.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Heck yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
Sounds way cooler.
You
does.
just boosted that phone, I think, a little bit.
And every time it rings, the ringtone is November Rain.
It's just Axl Rose going.
Just stock out of the box in the cold November rain.
Jason, your Axl Rose impersonation was just spot on right there. That was so good.
Good. I've had a lot of practice. Thank you for noticing.
I'm sorry. I should have presented that correctly. The greatest song of the 90s, November Rain. So.
I'm still tired of that song from 95 or whenever it was released. Still sick of it to this day.
Dude, I will never get tired of that song. That song is amazing.
Oh, no, dude, yeah, it is. It really is. I'll give you that.
Lucky for you, it's the default ringtone on the Pixel 3 Axle. So
Pixel 3 Axle.
the ringtone is Axel going, yeah, that's the ringtone. So that won't get annoying at all.
It's the chorus from Michelle. Wow, my Michelle. Sorry. All right.
Man.
I love Guns N' Roses. Cool. Well, so it doesn't get better than the 3 Axle, but it does get a little more limited. We've been talking, earlier we were talking about Android Q. I'm excited for innovative screens and different kind of interfaces. And we've seen foldable phones. I gotta admit, I didn't see this coming. Google might be planning for a non-touchscreen feature phone running Android. Just let that sink in for a moment.
Okay.
Code for a quote-unquote touchless device was found inside Chromium source. I love that people go inside these sources looking for this stuff. It looks like it's inspired by KaiOS feature phones, which is the second highest market share in India behind Android, ahead of iOS. And it's a version of Android running with buttons labeled with numbers. You hit those buttons on the phone to navigate the OS, much like a feature phone.
That's how a feature phone works.
And it could bring back the return of the home button, since there's no touchscreen to place those buttons on anymore.
Oh, boy.
And admittedly, friends at 9 to 5 Google do say that this is all very circumstantial at this stage, so who knows what this all means. But speculation around making a developing nation, marketplace that would be open to a Android-powered feature phone Is this something we need in the world?
Sure.
This is not just emerging market.
Yeah.
It's not, because I was on BART the other day and a man sat next to me and he had one of the new Alcatel flip phones. And I think there's still a small subset of users, even here, who are just desperate to stay in the flip phone and the feature phone life. Yeah. The smartphone is just way too much.
I will actually back that up in that I've seen far too many feature phones out in the wild, and not like ironic hipsters with feature phones, but just like normal dude or normal woman on the subway texting on a feature. And I'm just like, how does that work?
That must take forever.
You know, we get a lot of, at How To, we have a lot of older readers, and we get comments a lot about how they don't even own smartphones, which is just, it's crazy to me, because this is, I mean, obviously I'm very much immersed in this world, so I forget that people even use feature phones. So I think this is kind of cool that Google is doing this, because I mean, like it's pointed out in the 9 to 5 Google post about this, they're always talking about how they're going to reach the next million people. I think this is a great way to do that.
Absolutely.
What a great way to get the assistant into the hands of those who are still feeling very,
Can you imagine that? If you had a feature phone running with assistant and there's either an assistant
squeeze the
button
talk.
or you just hold your feature phone, you say, and it is a voice activated that just blew my mind.
No, that's cool. Brilliant. I haven't even thought about that aspect of it, is the assistant on a feature phone. Like, that's great. That brings the assistant to people who would never normally get it because it seems too complicated. But you put it on a feature phone, they press a button and say what they want, and it just works. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I feel like that's exactly how you do it too. It's a feature phone that looks like any other phone, right, on the keypad, but it, as Google loves to do, it has that little assistant button. Just that one single feature button, and when you push that, boom, that opens up your feature phone to the world.
Man, that's
of
awesome.
Google.
That's such a cool concept.
Heck, they put that button on the controller for the Stadia console.
I mean, I gotta imagine that button's gonna be on everything they make for the future. I mean, like that, until they rebrand it YouTube Assistant, and then we've got to change it all. And all right,
I can't live my life without Google Assistant anymore. I mean, I use it for everything now. Everything.
It's funny because we were talking about the share screen and how 90% of our use of it. 90% of my assistant is telling it to turn the lights on and off. I don't know. I don't know how I use these. I don't know how I use these switches all over my house. That was so archaic. Now I tell something to do it.
Totally.
But Cam, why are you dependent on an assistant? What makes it so crucial for you now?
Oh man, well I use it for the lights. For the lights at home. I use it for reminders all the time. My wife will be like, hey, we need to remember to do this. I'm like, boom, let me just tell the assistant. Because I have Google Homes in every room of my house. So I tell it, and then I never forget, because it's like, hey, I got a reminder for Cam. I'm like, oh, you're the best. Thank you.
A reminder for Cam.
Yeah, exactly. And then, I've got the home hub in the kitchen. So I use that for if I'm cooking something and I'm like, I don't remember what my next step is, I use it for cooking all the time, or even just music. And I love that it shows the lyrics when I tell it to play something. I don't know. I use it so passively. I probably can't even think of everything that I use it for off the top of my head, because it's just second nature now. It is baked into my DNA.
That's awesome.
Google Assistant is part of me.
Wow.
We are assistant.
We are assistant.
That's crazy. All right.
Yeah,
wow.
That's great, man.
All right, well, let's take a break and thank our next sponsor. This episode of All About Android is brought to you by WordPress. What would you do if you could do anything? Well, now you can build a website that can with WordPress.com. With powerful site building tools, thousands of themes, and 24/7 support from real experts, WordPress.com lets anyone pursue whatever it is they love by launching a site that's free to start with room to grow. WordPress.com is started so that anyone can publish their ideas. No 2-week trials, no hidden fees, and WordPress users own their content forever. WordPress.com is built to grow with you to get you where you want to be tomorrow. Their customer support team is made of actual WordPress experts who are standing by to help you 24 hours a day, including weekends, which is when you actually need it. because that's when you have time to work on your website, and it's great to have a little help on the weekend. The WordPress platform is so flexible and powerful that some of the biggest companies on earth use it to build their websites, and millions of people use WordPress.com every day to turn their dreams into reality, and I am one of those millions of people. Every time I have a new idea, whether it's a company or a website or a podcast, the first thing I do is I open up WordPress and I start a new site for it because it's so easy to get up and running and make it look awesome and get the help I need whenever I need it. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to get on board. You're going to join the millions of us that use WordPress. Go to WordPress.com/allaboutandroid for 15% off any new plan purchase. That's WordPress.com/allaboutandroid for 15% off your new website. It's WordPress.com/allaboutandroid. And we thank WordPress for their support of the show and for being awesome and making it easy to make websites. Thanks, WordPress.
Thank you, WordPress. All right, no bumper needed. We're staying firmly in the hardware
Roll
land.
on.
Hardware land. This is all the other stuff so that first block, if you didn't notice, was all Google hardware. Now we're everything else. So, Flo, you got the next one.
All right. So first things first, let's start with Huawei, a very popular company everywhere, but in the United States. So their next big flagship announcement is happening March 26th. That's, according to my calendar, just around the corner. So exciting. So details have leaked, and for those of you watching the show, you'll see some very beautiful phones on screen that seem to have leaked. These are the renders of the Huawei P30 and P30 Pro posted to the one you're seeing on our screen is from The Verge, but there were renders that were posted to WinFuture. Along with some information. So the P3 Pro, which is kind of like the souped up one, has a new camera system which promises up to 10 times zoom. That's a combination of 7.8x optical zoom along with software enhancements to help it boost to 10 times. It sounds a little bit like, I want to say it sounds like the one that we have on the Pixel. I don't know if it's apples to apples, but this zooming mechanism seems to be the new thing that's happening to our camera apps. The lens that will be facilitating this is a 40 megapixel f/1.6 lens, in addition to a 20 megapixel f/2.2 wide angle lens, as well as a small depth sensor next to the flash. So that's 3 cameras on the rear, along with a tiny little flash bubble for when you need to light up your friends' faces. Other specs about this particular P30 Pro, 6.47-inch OLED display. That's a really big display. An in-display fingerprint sensor, a Huawei Kirin 980 processor, 8 gigs of RAM, up to 512 gigs of storage, a 4,200 milliamp battery, IP68 specification. However, there's no headphone jack. Neither is there 5G support, but still the phone, it just is very souped up with things. So you'll find something to love about this phone. And then lastly, the P30, 6.1-inch OLED screen. Also has got that triple camera system, 6 gigabytes of RAM, 128 gigabytes of storage, a 3,650 milliamp battery, but it does not have the 10 times zoom, unfortunately, and no depth sensor. But it will include a in-display fingerprint sensor, IP68 rating, and it will have a headphone jack. So you've got your pick if you live somewhere where this is sold.
Yeah, you might be able to order it online here in the U.S.
Yeah.
But yeah, Huawei, for whatever reason, just doesn't have as much of a presence in the U.S. as it does literally everywhere else.
For whatever reason, I wonder what those reasons might be.
Could be something
political.
Well, let's avoid it. Let's avoid it.
Still a nice looking phone. I mean,
oh God, they're gorgeous. That ombre on the back. I mean,
I know. Looks slick. And of course, these are leaks, so that means we will find out more about this probably next week. Yeah. I think next week is when the thing happens.
The 26th is next week. Yes.
Okay, cool.
7 days from today.
All right, cool. So next week for sure. Ron, you got the next one?
Yes, I love this one. So we wondered last week about how many times that camera can pop out of the Oppo F11 Pro. Ask a question. get an answer.
Yeah, it's like they watched the show, don't they?
It's almost as if they did. Oppo leaned into it, and they tweeted up to 100 times a day for 6 years with a very clever video of other products that pop open, like CD players and DVD players and toasters and things like that. So good on you, Oppo, for leaning into the fact that you've got a wacky pop-up camera that I love.
They're like, you're so silly. Look at all these things that you already have that pop open and close, but we don't carry those around in our pocket everywhere we go. You know, so it's
well, I don't know about you guys, but I carry my DVD player everywhere just in case. And here's the thing. And here's the thing about those old TVs with antennas and stuff like that. Yeah, those antennas broke.
Oh yeah, they
like all the time, like the suitcase they're showing when the handle goes up.
Yep.
Yeah, those break like all the time.
Yep.
Yeah,
but it's always the telescoping mechanism that breaks.
Yes,
it's never the actual like the moving part or whatever at the bottom. So I like it.
Yeah,
I think this is cool. I think it's a clever little video.
It is a clever video, and confirmation that they watch and listen to us. Because why else would they do that?
For 6 years,
using all outdated technology.
Right.
It's true.
Right.
That's true. I wonder how they tested that.
Yeah, I don't know.
100 times a day for 6 years.
It's like that IKEA chair bouncer. They just have a machine that just pops it up and close.
Yeah, I wonder how they do that. How do they do that? Somebody who's watching should probably.
There's the question. So now next week, expect a tweet showing how they tested it.
And it says,
tweet,
so
right?
you wanted to know how we do that. It's like, oh.
Yeah, I mean,
I love
Okay,
that.
they definitely watch.
I'll give them credit that they leaned into it. That's great. They made a video. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true.
I do want to give them credit for that, for having a good sense of humor about it and standing behind their design. Like, that's pretty good.
Absolutely. All right, so I have not one but two devices that I'm going to be spending the next week of my life with. First up, we've already kind of talked about it a lot, so we don't have to dive too deeply into it, but I finally got my Samsung Galaxy S10. This is not the S10 Plus, so it is the single camera up at the top, which you can hardly see because the display is off. Oh, you can hardly see it too because the Death Star is covering it, but there is a camera cut out.
That's brilliant. Brilliant.
Yes. But anyway, so this is the S10, the smaller, the S10 Plus is just a little bit larger. If I was to put it up to the Pixel, which mine is the Pixel XL, it's only slightly smaller, but I mean, even those little distances kind of matter when you have it in your hand, right? But it feels really nice. Leo was comparing it because this does not have the ceramic back. You can only get the ceramic back on the S10 Plus. Leo has the ceramic back, and he was comparing it to this, and he said you can hardly tell the difference between the two. So, but I'm going to definitely spend some time with this over the next week and then review it next week. One thing that I'm having a really hard time with is getting used to the in-display fingerprint sensor. It's just kind of, I think I'm going to get used to it over time, where exactly it is and how hard I have to press, because these actually ship with screen protectors on them, which is really nice, but apparently that kind of reduces the sensitivity of the fingerprint sensor a little bit. See, no match. There we go. I got it on the 5th try. I feel like I have some work to do around that, because if my fingerprint sensor actually took me 5 tries every time to get into a dang phone, I'd get really upset over time. So I feel like I have some work to do with that. But yeah, I literally just unboxed this yesterday, so I haven't had enough time to form any sort of actual opinion around it, other than it feels nice. Samsung has their design down, right? Like when you pick up their flagship phones, it feels like a flagship phone. It feels substantial enough. It's also very light and very, very thin. So from a design perspective, I'm actually really liking it so far on the screen. The display looks awesome. I feel like I'm going to break it just by holding it. It kind of feels like it's going to slip out of my hand at any moment. Not that I have a history of doing that or anything, but but I do, and I'm definitely afraid of that happening.
Well, at least they gave you a screen protector.
They gave me a screen protector, exactly, and I think I have a case in the other room that I can throw on there. But so far, so good. So that's looking good. Also, I happen to have right here the Samsung Galaxy Watch, which was something that they showed off at the announcement, and finally got a hold of the Samsung Galaxy Watch. And I gotta say, this is a really nice watch. I know, Flo, you have one of these as well, right?
I purchased one. Yes, I did.
Because I mean, the size of this thing, the actual kind of distance, we're so used to seeing these wearables with these ginormous watch faces, or distant, the tech on your wrist oftentimes looks so thick and chunky that it's a smartwatch because it's just so much bigger than a normal watch. But this thing actually, this thing is pretty small. Like, it's small enough. What do you think?
Let me tell you, this is the most comfortable watch I've slept with in a long time. I don't like wearing, I don't wear jewelry or anything at night because I'm just kind of a really finicky sleeper, but I really would like to track my life. And so that's why I ended up buying this. And it's one of the most comfortable watches one of the most comfortable Android compatible watches I've ever worn. And I also like that it's really easy to clean because it's got that silicone band that you could just like wipe down with soap and water.
Yeah.
Like this is TMI, but now you all know I have skin issues. And so it makes wearing wearables really hard because I will break out in a rash. And the same thing happens for me with jewelry. And so I have to be able to clean things constantly. And I like how easy this is to clean with just plain old soap and water as I need to. I also, Jason, you showed that stress meter on there. It really works. It really does work. I was freaking out about a deadline yesterday. This thing had me in the orange most of the day that I had to take it off because I try to do, so what it does is it gives you little breathing exercises so you can like try and calm down. And it's really good at noticing if you're doing the exercise. It'll do the same thing if you're like sitting for too long. It'll buzz you and say like, get up and stretch. Let's do what kind of stretches do you want to do? And then you can select it and it'll like walk you through it. It's really nice. It feels very like, dare I say, Apple-y in that way. But I've always been kind of jealous of the way, and this is just how I feel, but I've always felt kind of jealous of the way my friends interacted with their Apple Watches. And when I saw this announced and I kind of wore it at the event a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, you know what? This might be it. The only problem is that as nice as the design is, like the ecosystem for this thing is harrowing. I mean, I know that we are coming from Wear OS where things are, maybe not as expansive as we'd like them to be, but like there are way too few apps for this thing for what I want to actually do. You have to primarily use Samsung Health. So you have to download it on your phone and get it set up and put it on your data. I really like the little widget that the watch shows to show you, like help you complete your heart. So instead of a circle, it's a heart.
Right.
But
smart.
The problem is this data, like I haven't figured out how to get it into Google Fit yet. And I'm sorry, I like to have my data synced across different services. And so right now I'm using Strava, which I use for hiking to connect with my pals so we can cheer each other on. And I have that sync up with Google Fit, and then Samsung Health syncs up with Strava. So that's how I sync up with Google Fit right now. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Kind of a lot of hoops to jump through to make that happen.
Exactly. And the thing is, if you go into the Galaxy App Store, like the reviews for these apps are terrible. So like Strava only has 2.5 stars or 3.5 or something, which doesn't give me it doesn't make me want to use it. It kind of scares me a little. I can't even find apps for like tracking other health things. I wish this had more. Pretty much the only things that you can find in the Galaxy App Store are watch faces. Like that's what, and even then it's kind of limited. So really I bought this because I wanted a watch that was comfortable to wear. And Samsung just kind of delivered with all the hardware. It's just the software is, I wish I could just put Wear OS on this. Ooh, sorry, but.
Yeah, but I really like the look of it. Like Wear OS is great and all, but I'm appreciating the kind of different take on the wearable, because Wear OS is really standardized as far as what you do see. And I kind of like Samsung's kind of approach on this. Just to get a few of the kind of details about this out there, Exynos 9110 running at 1.15 gigahertz, 768 megs of RAM, 4 gigs of storage. This is a 1.1 inch 360 by 360 display. And like I said, it's super small, so 40 millimeter body. And it is, as you saw, it is a touchscreen. It does have the 2 side-mounted buttons. The top one goes back, depending on where you're at, and the bottom one pulls up the recent apps that you have, so you can select from there. Heart rate monitor underneath also has linear acceleration, gravity, and stress monitoring, as we talked about with those breathing exercises. So that's interesting. Support for 1 amp wireless charging. There's also Bixby and a number of colors. It is running Tizen. So this is, like Flo said, not Android Wear. It is a Tizen watch. But
no Google Assistant.
I was getting short on battery earlier, so why don't I show this off, and if I can figure out how to get into my phone, because I can't remember. Okay, so if I go to settings and I go wireless power share.
Oh, okay, you have to hit it.
All right, so that's on. Set that on the counter. I'll move this along, and at some point, it's going to catch that charge. Maybe it won't.
I like that it's like a game.
Is it on the other side?
No, you know
what?
what?
You have to flip through.
I
have a comment to make about the battery life on this, by the way. If I might.
Back to back. I did this earlier. It should work. Okay, make the comment.
It's not. It's good, but only if you're using the power saving a lot. If you're like on Bluetooth and stuff. Oh, there you go. It's charging.
Yeah.
It's yeah. I definitely have the charger by the bed to make sure that it's charged before I go to bed to track my sleep.
Oh, I see.
Just gonna put it that way.
So
yeah,
I feel it was finicky for me earlier. It's like you got to catch it at just the right point, and then it goes.
This isn't like the demo we saw on stage.
No, I know, right? It says put it on the center, which I'm doing.
Gosh, this is like swiping for NFC, like when you're at the payment portal and you're like, come on, wave the phone over, come on.
This is amazing, by the way.
Isn't this awesome? Watch me move my watch on my phone.
It was such a cool feature in the demo.
Yeah.
Jason's moving the watch around the back of the phone like a Ouija board.
I was just gonna say that right. the same thing.
I feel like this is typical Samsung functionality right here.
It's like almost.
Are there any spirits in the room? Will this battery charge?
It really is kind of like I'm summoning someone.
Are you here? Battery charge.
Oh, maybe I needed to use it like a Ouija board, and boom. Perfect.
Okay.
Charging.
So you have to use it like a
and
Ouija board.
there we go. We finally got it. My goodness. That took too long. We summoned the demons, and they finally allowed us to charge the watch. That is the Galaxy Watch. I'm going to do a review of this after some time with it. Who knows? Maybe I was doing that incorrectly. I will find out over the course of the next week and let you all know with a full review of the Samsung Galaxy Watch. All right. And let's take a break, thank the sponsor, and then we'll get right into the arena and talk about some apps. This episode of All About Android is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. Hiring used to be hard. If you've ever tried to hire someone, you know it's never truly easy, but it used to be so much harder. Multiple job sites, stacks of resumes, confusing review process. Today, hiring can be easy, and you only really have one place to get it done. There's only one place to go to make that happen, and that place is ZipRecruiter.com/Android. ZipRecruiter sends your job to over 100 of the web's leading job boards. But that's not the only thing that they do. They don't stop there. With their powerful matching technology, ZipRecruiter scans thousands of resumes to find people with the right experience and then invite them to apply to your job. As applications come in, ZipRecruiter analyzes each one and spotlights the top candidates so you never miss a great match. ZipRecruiter is so effective that 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day, and just makes things easy. And I know firsthand because my wife, she owns a business. She's used ZipRecruiter, and she just She's loved how easy it is to find those qualified candidates and get them through the door. I've seen through her the frustration of not using ZipRecruiter and how much it's helped her to use it. So I've seen it, and ZipRecruiter really knows what they're doing here. They can get you the right candidate for your position. Right now, All About Android listeners can try ZipRecruiter for free at our exclusive web address. It's ZipRecruiter.com/Android. Show your support for this show and ZipRecruiter by going to ZipRecruiter.com/Android. That lets them know that you came from this show. ZipRecruiter.com/Android. ZipRecruiter is the smartest way to hire. We thank ZipRecruiter for their support. And with that, it's time for the arena.
So many enter, but only one lives. Android Arena.
I'm still really bummed that that watch didn't charge faster. It didn't find that lock faster. That really needed to happen a lot easier than that. Yeah, I'm sad.
It's okay. Hashtag live demos.
Yes, that's just the way it goes.
Thanks, Samsung.
twit.to/AAA poll 411 is where you went last week. You placed your vote, and Wi-Fi Man. Wow, nice. That was my app. 54.72% of the votes. Second place, Memoria Photo Gallery.
Yay.
That was Flo's. 17.
Yes.
I just wait for the person to go, yay, and then I remember. 17.61%. Third place was it was Achievement, which was a team guest, 15.09% on that one. That was Adam last week. And then fourth place, Ron, I'm sorry, Curated. No. Apparently, people aren't interested in the curated web anymore.
Well, I gotta say, a lot of you started using Curated, and the developers of Curated were delighted, and they shared the episode and all that stuff. So it's a nice little story, even if I didn't get many points for it.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Awesome. So let's see here. So do we have totals?
Yes, we do. So Wade County in the chat room, thank you for providing the totals. Through 10 weeks of All About Android, Flo is in first place with 35 points. The guests are in second place with 30 points. Jason, not too far behind, in second place with 23 points. And my absence due to my paternity leave has me in the basement at 17 points. But I'm trying to climb back out. Burke has given me tips here and there. I need to listen to him more often. I didn't listen to Burke this week, so maybe next week that will help me win. But yeah. So I guess I came in last, so I guess I go first, right, Jason?
I think you go first this week.
Yeah, so this caught my eye. I feel like this is I feel like I've done this category of apps a couple of times since I got the OnePlus 6T. But this is a web browser called OH. And that stands for one-handed. It's actually O web browser, one-handed, fast, and privacy. And if you have a big old phone that is hard to use the upper part of your phone, the one-handed browser is your answer, because as you can see here in the design, all of the action items and the stuff you're going to do are all at the bottom of the bottom portion of the phone. So if you want to search for something, you can hit the search button there in the lower and down in the bottom, and it will bring up the search bar and the URL bar, and you can search for something there. If you want to start a new tab, you can hit the 1/1 right there, and that will show you the tab you're on, and then give you the option to go incognito or to start a new tab or to trash the tabs that you've got going. Basically, everything you need to do is all within reach of your thumb, so you can use your phone in a browser with just one hand, which, let's be honest, that's all anybody wants to do on their phones. If you hit the hamburger menu, you get a neat little overlay of settings and things like that give you control over the phone and give you pretty much everything you need, from a dark mode. If you hit the crescent moon there, and right there, you can see the dark mode. Ooh. Look at that. Dark mode's all the rage, right? Yeah. To going full screen, to adjusting the volume, to doing everything you need to do, all from the reach of your thumb. Really, really clever. Apparently, this developer is focused on making one-handed apps, which I just love. That niche. This guy, the guy behind One Handy, is just all about one-handed apps, and I think that's great. So it's cool. It's good. So it's got all the controls there on the bottom. It's simple. It's minimal. It really leans into privacy, so it doesn't ask your permission on location or camera or microphone or contacts or anything like that. And it's also got things like, it supports multiple search engines. If you don't want to use Google, you can use DuckDuckGo. It's got an ad blocker. It's got a PDF converter. a download manager, all the stuff you'd expect from a modern browser. Really impressed that there's one guy with his focus on one-handed browsing came up with a solid browser. So it's called O. Check it out. If you're righty or lefty, it'll work. It just whether you got one hand, it all works because your thumb is just all over the place. So that's all you need to do. So O web browser, one-handed, fast and privacy, free in the Google Play Store. If you got a big phone and you have a hard time reaching all the way up at the top, O is your browser of choice. So there you go.
O
browser.
One-handed. OH stands for one-handed. So O web browser. All right, Flo. This was on my short list.
Oh,
congratulations. You got there first.
Well, so as you all know, this year I am devoted to finding apps that are not made by Google or on my phone by default that do things also. So this week I have brought a alternative calculator app to the arena. So this is called Calculator Touch with handwriting recognition. And that whole statement I just said is how it is in the Play Store, but you can find it by Calculator Touch. So here in this demo, Jason's actually using the dark mode version of the app. The app also has a regular old light mode if you'd rather use that. Now, the thing that is very cool about this is that, there you go, is you could change some of the little designs, is that you can draw out your calculations. And so where you would draw them out is on the bottom of the screen. And the reason that the numbers are at the bottom of the screen is to make it a little easier, again, for one-handed operation. Even maybe if you have your thumb, there you go. So 6.99 divided by whatever. Oh. And it'll give you...
How do I do equal? Is that double finger?
No, it equals for you right there, or rather it does operation for you
Gotcha.
In real time. There are a variety of different, it takes a bunch of different handwriting, I'm trying to think, gestures, whatever they're called. There is actually a setting that will show you all of the different gestures that are available. You can swipe up to open the manual, maybe. Possibly.
Oh, there we go.
There you go. Yep. To kind of help you if you are maybe not wanting to draw things out. You can just easily erase everything. Oh, there you go. Those are the recognized symbols. So you can kind of see like what works and what you can draw out. It does basic operations, powers, roots, brackets, trigonometry, inverse trigonometry, logarithms, constants. Now, I don't math. Like math is just not my thing, but I do calculate tip. And I kind of like this calculator app because it's just, I'm just kind of moving fast and I probably already had a drink and I want to make sure that my person is tipped. And so I will use this calculator app, which is very easy. I could just scrawl in there with my tipsy thumb to figure out how much I need to put on the receipt.
That was not a 4.
There's also a live currency converter, although I have not uncovered it yet. Okay. Just to kind of add that in there.
There we go. There was the 4. Yeah, it takes a little bit of getting used to.
To remove ads. So if you would like to support your devs, you can throw them a little bit of money and get rid of some of those ads.
Nice. And there you go. Calculator.
It should be there. Yeah, buy premium. It'll give you a trial period, and then it'll ask you to buy. Well, it's not too bad. $249.
$249.
Yeah.
Not bad at all. Nice. As with anything with handwriting recognition, you might have to kind of play around with it a little bit to understand how it's recognizing certain things. There's a little bit of a language here, to know.
A learning curve, if you will.
But yeah, that's cool. I like it. I like the design of this. It's called Calculator Touch. And you can get it free, or you can get the premium version as well. Excellent pick. Thank you, Flo.
Thank you.
Let's see here. Cam, you are up next. Yours was one where I was like, man, that hasn't been in there already, but I checked the tool.
I had the same thought there.
I did too. I was like, I checked 3 times because I was like, seriously, this hasn't been in there? Sweet, I'm going to use it then. All so yeah, my app is FolderSync. FolderSync and FolderSync Pro. Super simple app. that just connects to pretty much any cloud service out there. So you can easily sync files from your phone to a cloud service and back and forth. I mean, I use it mostly for pictures to back up. Like I use it for instant transfer of screenshots, because obviously I take a lot of screenshots. So screenshots then over Google Drive to my computer. I also do the same thing with any Instagram picture I take. It automatically backs up to an Instagram folder. But you can do it with pretty much anything like that. It'll sync automatically, or you can have it sync for you. I mean, you can set up a button, so a widget, so you can tell it when to sync. I don't know. I mean, it's a really simple app, but it's super useful. I've been using this for years, and like I said, I can't believe that it wasn't already in the arena, because I've been using this for probably close to 5 years, and it is on literally every phone that I own. It's fantastic.
I'm trying to get into trying to find like the settings on this, but for whatever reason, I cannot find the settings in order to kind of set it up and everything.
Oh, yeah.
I'm wondering if maybe I have just the premium file installed, but is it one of those things where even if you have the premium, you have to have the original thing installed? I would imagine it would have told me that if it needed.
That's a good question. I don't think so. I'm going to look it up right now. I don't think I have. It's one of those things I've been using for so long that I don't remember how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't have. All I have is the premium one installed, so I only have the Pro.
Okay,
Pro installed.
Interesting. Well, you should be able to set that up, and for whatever reason, I'm not able to get to the settings. But I mean, they support all kinds of protocols, all kinds of cloud providers. Probably most of the cloud providers that you would want to sync.
Oh yeah, they support some that I've never even heard of. So I'm like, yeah, they're all in there.
Yeah. Right on. This is FolderSync and FolderSync Pro. There is a free version and a paid version if you want the full capabilities. $299 for the paid premium version. Great pick. All right. And my app, man, I had a different app in here until the very last minute. And then I was like,
I saw
I'm going to save that for another time. Okay, it only took me 4 tries to get in with the fingerprint sensor on the Galaxy S10. So I don't know if you noticed my Galaxy S10, but the background is really cool. And you'd never know with this background that there's a hole punch camera up there. You wouldn't know because it's part of the image. How did I find this? Well, it's an app called Hidey-Hole. Which is basically 4 Galaxy S10 phones that have that cutout up there. I wonder if this would work for phones outside of Galaxy S10. I don't know. I haven't tried it in other phones that have cutouts. But as you can see here, these are apparently all pulled from Reddit. These are background images for your S10 device that interact with the hole. So for example, there you go. You can't see it because it's the camera is part of the image. Let's see here. What else? We've got the Minions, right? The Minion goggle is now part of the camera. This is for if that cutout notch up there bugs you so badly that you want to cover it with a background that it will allow you to pretend like it doesn't exist. So I can save it, save the wallpaper. And now there you go. I've got Bender eyes instead of an actual cutout camera up there.
That's so cool.
And it's just an app that's all it does. It's just an app that shows you a bunch of different images that you can do that with. Oh, there's Wally. Sure, I'll send that. Wally. Assign it to both. And boom, now you don't know that there's a camera up there. That's it. It's called Hidey-Hole, and it's free. And it's by Chainfar, by the way. The developers Chainfar. So they do a good job with their apps, and this is no different. Hidey-Hole. If you don't like that cutout and you want to get rid of it, or at least pretend that it's not there, Hidey-Hole is the way to do it. Do a search. You'll find it. All right, so twit.to/AAA poll 412 is where you go to place your vote for your favorite app this week. Is it web browser, calculator touch, FolderSync, and FolderSync Full, and Hidey-Hole for Galaxy S10 series phones. Victor is about to vote. He's going to place his vote, possibly the very first vote on this week's poll. And
there you go.
Where does he land? Dun, dun, dun. FolderSync gets the vote.
Ooh, lots of votes already.
Yeah, already a couple of votes. Hidey-Hole at 50%. Oh, web browser and FolderSync at 25%. Calculator Touch has not received a vote yet.
That's okay.
That will change. It will receive votes.
And it's fine.
And
if you don't like it, it's okay.
Everything changes by next week. This is just how the world works. The world of the arena works as such.
That's so true.
And we'll check in on it, and we'll let you know where things land. But that is it for this supersized episode of All About Android. We went a little long, and I apologize about that, Cameron. I told you we'd be done sooner than this. I hope you're not missing anything important, but I really appreciate you joining us tonight and talking to us about all of your thoughts and opinions on all this stuff. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, no, this is great. I am not missing out on anything. You guys had my whole evening. I was like, I'm going to be on All About Android.
Well,
I have nothing else to do.
Yes.
Clear the calendar. Hanging out all night.
Most people who have been on this show by now realize that probably the best safe bet is to clear the calendar because you just never know.
It's a night show.
It is a night show. We get a little too comfortable on this show.
Yes.
Cameron, what do you want to leave people with? Where can people follow your work? Can they hear your music? Because obviously you play a lot of music. You got a bunch of guitars in the background. Like, what's your story?
I don't touch them as much as I'd like to anymore.
Yeah, I hear you.
I don't get to play as often. Everything else takes priority. But no, you can find me at howtogeek.com. Also our sister site, reviewgeek.com, where we do reviews and hardware, things like that. Hit me on Twitter at Summerson or Instagram at C
letter C Summerson.
Letter C Summerson. Where
you can see Summerson. Cameron,
somebody had Summerson already, and I was like, really?
Yeah.
I took it. Yeah.
That's weird. It's when a new platform comes out or a new service comes out, the thought I have immediately is I should start an account just so that I lock it in case it becomes something. But then I'm lazy and then I don't, and then I realize later that I should have.
But also, when was the last time something became something?
No, it's been a while.
Instagram, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. The submarine is surfacing. Thank you again, Cameron. We really appreciate your time. And this was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
And Ron, what's up with you?
Yeah, no, not much. I'm just raising babies and working and doing my thing. It's very focused time for me. So not a lot to promote. Just go follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at RonXO. Although I'm not posting a lot either there because I'm not really spending a lot of time with that stuff. But I will rise like a phoenix back to amuse you. That's all. And
you got a few months. You got a few months ahead of you. I
don't know if you can tell the sleep deprivation that is set in. I'll tell a fun quick story. So I'm back at work and I was at work yesterday and I was running to catch my train because I wanted to get home to see my lovely wife and my beautiful babies. And I ran out the door and got to the train and the train started leaving the station and getting further and further away from my office. And I'm like, all right, well, let me do some email. And we go to open my laptop bag, take my laptop out. There's no laptop in my bag. The zipper is open. I was like, oh, God almighty. I must have I went on 2 subways. I took one subway to this station, then I switched to another subway, and now I'm on the train, and I'm pulling further and further away from New York City. And I was like, God, so I'm filling out lost and found things in the MTA and reporting the lost laptop to my employer and all this stuff. I go back to work this morning. Laptop was sitting on my desk.
Oh boy.
Never put it in my bag. So and everyone at work made fun of me and they said, "You've got dad brain."
Yep.
I was like, yep.
Pretty much.
So
that's how it goes. Yep.
That's my life right about now.
All right. Well, I feel for you.
But I've got the dad jokes, and so I'm equipped.
You're fueled. Good.
Thank you.
Good. Look, we knew what you really needed in life.
Exactly.
And that's it. Yep. Thank you, Ron. Yep. Flo, what about you? What's new in Flo's world on the Flo feed?
Well, I'm working on some stuff.
Okay.
We've got a very exciting little Discord chat happening. So if anybody would like to join me there, you can find the link popping around Twitter. I sometimes post. I'm trying to be very elusive about posting the links so that, trying to give an air of exclusivity about it. Just kidding. That's kind of kidding, kind of not. Want it? Come and chat. And you can find out more about what's going on with me or visit me at florenceion.com to figure out where I'm working right now.
Right on. florenceion.com, home of the flow feed.
I'm incubating on some stuff right now. So
you're an incubator.
I am.
Right on. florenceion.com.
Florence Incubator Ion.
And Victor, thank you, sir. Appreciate your help.
No problem. Speaking of dad jokes, Ron talked about rising like a phoenix. Hopefully not a dark phoenix.
Well, I don't know. That Jean Grey, she's pretty cool.
I was thinking about Jean Grey as well when you said that, for the record.
I got crickets. This must be a comic.
X-Men.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, there's a film, and what's her face Sansa's in it.
What is a film? What is this, a film?
What is a film?
That one's not in.
I'm almost.
That one's not in the book, by the way. But
thank you, Victor. Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, Alex is there. Hi, Alex.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks for
He's
watching
squinting.
us today.
Okay, he squinted. That's good enough. And you can find me on Twit. I'm all over the Twit network. That's just what I do. I'm here. I'm hardly even on Twitter these days. When I'm on Twitter, I complain about things like my eye. So you probably don't even want to follow me there. But if you do, if you like complaints, at Jason Howell. That's where you can find me there. That's it for this week. Leave us a voicemail, 347-SHOW-AAA. Send us emails at AAA@twit.tv. Find us, the show, on Twitter. We got to figure out our strategy on that, at Android Show. We don't do a whole lot with it. We should probably do more with it anyways. Arena apps list can be found at twit.to/Android apps. All the apps that we've ever covered in the Arena, of which there are a lot, can be found there. Also, you really just want to remember one place only on the web, if anything else, twit.tv/AAA. That's where you can go to find all of our past episodes, all of our podcast subscribe links, our show notes, which are embedded in each episode page, tons of links, everything that you need to keep you busy for far too long, being obsessed with the show, if that's what you want to do. twit.tv/AAA. And we record every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific at twit.tv/live. So join us live as well, but make sure and subscribe so that you make sure that you don't miss an episode, even if you don't catch it on the live stream. That's it for this week. We'll see y'all next week on another episode of All About Android. Bye, everybody. Enjoy your Android Q.